by having that extra ability, not application necessarily, but just the infrastructure to support copying configurations and picking and choosing elements from one site to another, or your golden site to a particular new business or a new site, is really critical. And usually, I mean, it's not that part for people that have not been in the 3PL space very long, haven't gotten that far because, they're focused on just solving the functional problem, which we solved long ago, which is in and itself a really hard thing. Now, doing the extra pieces of connective tissue to allow the 3PLs to go faster, right? That's the next step that we've really focused a lot on.
So one of our big industries is 3PL. That's not a secret, but I think that gives us some real advantages across the board. So let's talk about why we're so strong in 3PL and what that gives us outside of 3PL.
Yeah, I love the 3PL customer set because it's a never-ending set of challenges and requirements and reactions to a whole myriad of their customers, right? So it puts us in this unique position, I think, where we have to be quicker, better, faster, because you're really dealing with dozens of customers through a 3PL, dozens of different operations types.
It's a disparate customer.
Yeah.
And they could very disparate.
Completely different kinds of operation styles. Many times they're aggregated into only a few facilities, so it really forces us. It builds muscle on that operational expertise and the ability to create a industrial grade solution that's always there and always operating. Any kind of configuration change, any kind of deployment, anything has to be. We just have to be better, because it's multiplied by 2, 4, 6, 10 times, the impact. So it's, to me, we didn't really set out years ago to say, and this was before my time, oh, we're going to really focus on 3PLs, but we got some early 3PL customers, and they're multi-client in a facility 3PL customers, which is really important, because otherwise you got a dedicated facility. It's really different than a end shipper. So, it puts us in a unique position, and we built all kinds of tools and approaches that support those customers better, which then translates to, our end shipper customers also, because the tools, the enablement, the configuration really allows them to be more agile.
Yeah. The thing about 3PLs that's so interesting is, though, some people call, oh, hey, what's your vertical? And you say, "Well, are you a
That's
3PLs?"
horizontal.
It's a horizontal. Yeah, it's the most difficult thing to be good at, unless you basically just say, yeah, I got a little billing, I can do contract 3PLs, which is just like a logo, right, at that point, right? Or you say, okay, hey, I got a 3PL, like, in our experience, the 3PL stuff that I've spent a lot of my life working on was built for contract CPG space, right? Where, what the CPG stuff is big volume, big, store stuff and pallets and things like that is frankly really easy. Now you shift to or from a contract to a multi-customer 3PL that has, big pallet stuff. They got small things. They got, everything in between. They're, um, doing stuff all over the world. And, it's craziness. Right. And so it just, we had to here at Softeon, create entirely new ways to support that in a nimble way. So things that, not just functionality, but things like saying, hey, I'm going to take this configuration and apply it when I want to create a new warehouse, or I want to want to bring on a new customer. How can I do that as quickly as possible? So not just the functionality side of things, but it's the structure around it to allow the 3PLs to get business and get it up faster, so we can get, be receiving, with a 3PL, you could say, okay, I should be able to receive in a week or two and start shipping in, 3 weeks or 4 weeks, something like that, right? So by having that extra ability, not application necessarily, but just the infrastructure to support copying configurations and picking and choosing elements from one site to another, or your golden site to a particular new business or a new site is really critical. And usually, I mean, it's not that part for people that have not been in the 3PL space very long, haven't gotten that far because, they're focused on just solving the functional problem, which we solved long ago, which is in of itself a really hard thing. Now, doing the extra pieces of connective tissue to allow that 3PL to go faster, right? That's the next step that we've really focused a lot on. Right.
Right, right. And the enablement part of it.
Yeah.
So we talked a lot about enablement in the different cast, but the fact that the tool set is really enabled allows 3PLs to kind of do their own kind of expansion and extension and solve customer problems without coming to Softeon every time. Look, we're happy to do it. We're always going to be here to solve whatever need you have, but I don't want to be the bottleneck of progress. And then just the muscle of and the ability for us to be able to help those 3PLs look for efficiencies across clients even, right? So I think that's the next generation where we go. So some of the best, I guess some of the best 3PLs out there, they're already, it's almost a product management function at the 3PL, because they're,
Yeah.
yeah, they're taking these disparate customers, clients of theirs, they toss them all into maybe a couple, 3, 4, 5 facilities. So you are looking for common workflows and picking methodologies, because ultimately what you want to do is you want to standardize as much as you can reasonably, keeping productivity so that you can move your workforce across different clients. Because otherwise, what are you going to have? You got 8 clients, you're going to have 8 separate workforces because they each know only that one client.
Yeah, we see that a
That's
lot.
not
Yeah,
ideal.
we see it a lot from automations to say, hey, if you're going to be doing, if you're a soft goods business, say apparel, right, and that's going to fit really well into an auto store situation, and that can be an auto store from a storage and picking, but then they might have use our abilities to change the flows in the outbound because they might have value adds, or they might be, having to do inserts and folds and different things on the outbound side. So they're gonna use the auto store for storage and retrieval and picking, but then, adding value adds that are unique to them, unique to that particular customer requirement on the back side of that, right? So that's really, that ability of doing both the integration really well and then customizing those outbound flows really is, gives us a nice differentiator there.
Yeah. So it's something that, I think that we just have such a long history. We're already very good at it. And finding those operational flows, that leverage, that's all. I think that kind of almost the second generation of things you go through. First generation, if you're going to use multi-client, deal with multi-client, is you got to set up like customer portals, and you got to set up billing, which we've done long ago. So we have all those capabilities, but then that getting that leverage and then finding ways to, spread automation equipment and or human labor across multiple clients more effectively is.
Yeah, I think one of the big differentiators we have too is because you can set up certain flows in your facility just from a configuration perspective by customer, right? That that is an issue of a WMS that would have been developed prior to really being focused on 3PL, because this is so innately into our DNA now, right? That we don't have to do crazy things to get configurations to be working for a particular customer or use this, so I think that that's one of those things from a time it takes to get a new customer onboarded, and then just overall support. What's if you have that sort of in your DNA, it just allows you to go faster, allow your customers to go faster with less, oh, I got to tweak all this stuff and I have to do this individually for this customer. It causes me extra weeks or month of time to get that customer up and running.
Yeah, it's very true. And the good news is because, we do have a good portion of our customers are 3PLs, and we are, strong and getting stronger with all those muscles to help them. Then when you look to end shippers, they get all that same benefit. Maybe they don't get as much, they probably don't get as much leverage out of it because they don't have a bunch of disparate operations, but they certainly get the ability to be enabled and to adapt quickly to changes, and so all of that benefit comes along.
Yeah, I mean, we have customers, local customers, and shippers that use that ability to do what we call business units, to because they themselves are gonna have different flows by product type or business unit themselves that
Or
they can say,
acquisitions.
yeah, or
They bring
acquisitions, et
acquisition.
cetera, right? And so it allows them to tap into that. So you're right, it's not just all that DNA is not just for 3PLs. 3PLs is like the hardest thing to do, right? And so you get all that as an end shipper that you can then tap into and say, oh, I'm going to differentiate this pick flow and I'm going to consider them sort of almost like a separate little business. Like, we see sometimes in the CPG space that they have to carve out a niche for doing parcel flows via Amazon or something like that. And it's almost like its own little business inside of the main business that you can do that sort of situation like that. And that's going to be more the norm, right? Even for big shippers to have small, focused, targeted DTC, direct to consumer, or even B2B flows, right? That are not their normal sort of wholesale flows, right? So by having those differentiators in there, at that level, you can use those tools that we have in the 3PL space.
I mean, like all businesses, 3PL is really competitive. Super. One of the things I like with our new customers, our new 3PL customers, is watching them kind of wake up to the power of enablement. Where in their history, where they've had a legacy system or another product, where they've just been beholden to someone where they need to get things done, which, restricts their speed and all that stuff. I like watching them go on this journey of like, wow, okay, I got a whole bunch of things. And so it's a really powerful thing for us when our new customers understand, what this approach brings to them.
Yeah, we had a customer come to us with this device. It's cuboid. It's a different way to do dimensioning rather than the big table devices that everybody uses. Like you go out into a receiving area, right? You see all these tables where they're standing around dimensioning things, and now you can go and point and click. And so they said, hey, we really want to do this, but we don't want to make it a mod. And so we used our enablement ability to create a flow for them that they can just point, boom, pop it in, and it goes into the WMS. And having that ability, that was 3PL that wanted to do that. That creates a differentiator for them as flow, because that whole process of dimensioning, especially if you bring on a new customer with a lot of different SKUs and things like that, that's a real life thing, right? That's a real life effort. So, having those abilities really opening up in front of you is a big thing.